everybody, this is Mrs. Burke. This is for my 8th grade students in Derry, New Hampshire. This is going to be video number 58B. This is movie clips from Discovery Channel. It is shown usually in class, but I'm going to have you guys watch it individually. It's about 25 minutes, which is why I'm going to have you guys do it in class. And you're going to need to complete the chart at the end of it. Just like I did with 57B, I'm going to have a little notes that come in on the arrows for you. And that way make sure you take good notes and you're ready to turn in your chart at the end. I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Once we thought the 9 planets were the ultimate destinations, but when we actually went to visit them, we couldn't help but become captivated by what lay just next door, the moons. 95 different worlds, now known to hold the most exotic real estate in the solar system. Neptune, a ball of gas 60 times larger than Earth. Like the other gas giant planets, Neptune has no surface to even land on. If we want a place to explore, we'll need to look to the moons. Here, nearly 3 billion miles away from Earth, is the coldest moon ever recorded. At almost minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit, it approaches absolute zero, the temperature where all movement stops. If any moon should be a frozen ice ball, it is this one. Yet instead, it is a world in full motion. Dynamic. Active. One might even say psychedelic. Welcome to Triton.
Triton is the largest moon of planet Neptune. On the very distant fringe of the solar system, with its extreme conditions, exotic composition, and bizarre geologic processes, Triton is an absolutely surreal world.
On the coldest moon in the solar system, there are geysers, volcanoes. The frozen surface is alive.
It has one of the most dramatic displays of volcanic terrains in the solar system, which sounds surprising perhaps because ice ball, volcanism, they don't seem to go together. But in fact, Triton's form of volcanism involves molten ices.
Here on Triton are the first ice volcanoes ever found. The volcanoes start deep underground, where Triton's weak internal heat turns ice into liquid. Less dense, the liquid rises to the surface, creating an explosive eruption that showers the moon, not with melted earth, but with melted ice. The cold, slushy lava forms an utterly fantastic ice-sculpted landscape. Even more surreal than volcanoes made of ice are Triton's powerful geysers. On Earth, geysers are made of boiling water. On Triton, geysers are made of boiling nitrogen. As bizarre as it seems, with nitrogen, you can have a boil at 320 degrees below zero. So cold, everything familiar to us shatters like glass. And yet so volatile, it can produce the highest geysers the solar system has ever seen.
Standing on Triton, we would want a pressurized and heated spacesuit given the conditions there. If you were dumb enough to go out of your spacecraft on Triton without a spacesuit, your head would explode in about 3 seconds flat, and then you'd freeze to 390 degrees below zero. Your body would be hard as steel. Standing on the surface, we would experience 1/12 of Earth's surface gravity, so we would feel very light and buoyant. We'd be able to jump 12 times higher, for instance, than we could on Earth.
And for the truly brave, a new sport, geyser diving.
It might be very interesting to go down into the holes if you dare. There'd be all sorts of reverberations with the supersonic gas rushing out, we may end up in a pool of liquid nitrogen, boiling fervently.
As nitrogen boils, it produces a vapor that expands hundreds, even thousands of times in volume. Intense pressure builds until the geyser finally gives. The explosive force shoots 10 times faster than any geyser on Earth. When it reaches 5 miles high, about the height of Mount Everest, the geyser, darkened by carbon, is sheared at a right angle by Triton's high-altitude winds. If you didn't know better, you'd think this moon had smokestacks. Once, scientists assumed the outer moons would be cold, dead, and boring. Now we know that even 3 billion miles from the sun, in the shadow of Neptune, you can have a startlingly beautiful world in motion. And if the coldest moon can be this active, just imagine what the other moons have to offer. Orbiting Jupiter is the hottest moon in the solar system. Scientists once thought there could be little warmth a 500 million miles from the sun. But here, the gravity of Jupiter and its other inner moons squeeze, bend, and twist this world until it heats up like a furnace. This is a world of erupting molten rock and poison gas plumes. This is a world so hot it is melting before our eyes. This is Io. Your trip to hell.
The surface of Io is an extraordinarily inhospitable place. To an unprotected human on the surface, the first problem would be the lack of a breathable atmosphere. And there's always the danger of being caught in a massive volcanic eruption.
We will brave Io's hell to visit some 300 active volcanoes. The #1 attraction will be Io's old faithful, Prometheus, a constant plume that sends a tower of poison gas 50 miles high. There's Loki, the largest volcano in the solar system. Scientists still don't understand its structure, but it generates more heat than all of the Earth's volcanoes combined. And Amirani, 300 miles of oozing lava, the longest active lava flow in the solar system. Io produces 45,000 tons of lava a second, enough to pave all of the Earth's continents every year. It is hot, runny, fast-moving lava.
Lava on Io would flow like olive oil, and you couldn't outrun it. You could possibly ride a bike and get away from it on a bicycle if you could ride fast enough.
And if you had a mountain bike, you would take the ride of your life, for Io has mountains twice as high as Mount Everest. You'd need warm clothing, for away from the volcanoes, Io is more than 200 degrees below zero and full of snow. Take your bike near a searing lava flow, and you'd be burned on one side and frozen on the other. And where the hot lava hits the cold snow, you'd see a magnificent plume, shooting up to 250 miles into the frigid darkness of space. When the plume cools, it returns to the surface in a sulfur snow. Like a kaleidoscope, the sulfur changes colors, with temperature and impurities.
Io is covered in red and brown and yellow and even green. It must be quite extraordinarily beautiful.
On the molten world of Io, one thing you'd want to do is study the lava, how it erupts and how it cools. That's what these scientists are doing here at the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. And if you could, what you'd really want to do is stick a thermometer right in a lava flow.
About 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a typical temperature here in Hawaii, but on Io we expect lava to be about 500 degrees hotter, and that's something we haven't seen on the Earth for billions of years.
Io has the hottest lava in the solar system, over 2600 degrees. The last time this temperature was seen on Earth was 3 billion years ago, when our planet spilled at least 4 times as much lava as it does today.
So Io is a chance to go back and look at the types of lava flows that have been dead from the Earth. So it's like Jurassic Park for volcanologists.
We will want to visit Io, but the risks are immense. It's not just the volcanoes. Here, Jupiter showers the moon with radiation 4,000 times the lethal dose. But scientists may have found us a safe home. Underground.
The main obstacle to successful inhabitation of Io by humans is overcoming the high radiation environment. And probably the best thing to do would be to seek refuge underground, perhaps in something like this, a lava tube.
Io may be studded with empty lava tubes, basically old plumbing from its dormant volcanoes, and the rock above will act as a radiation shield. Keeping our exposure to a minimum, we would emerge from the lava tube for brief excursions, and we would look up to see one more surprise, the grandest light show in the solar system.
If I could be standing by a lava flow in Io and looking up at the sky, what I would see would be glowing volcanic gases, very much like the northern lights on Earth. It would be truly spectacular.
The aurora are created when sulfur dioxide gas ejected from the volcanoes strikes charged particles emitted from Jupiter. Gas hitting electricity, forming a gigantic neon light. It's one more reminder that the 95 moons hold the most exotic real estate in the solar system. The 95 moons give new meaning to the term extreme sports. You could say the pioneer was Alan Shepard, who in 1971 landed in the ultimate of sand traps. With a one-handed swing, he drove a golf ball almost 200 yards.
Miles and miles and miles.
Of course, Tiger Woods could have sent the ball almost a mile. Now, the only limit to lunar sports is our imagination. Imagine snowboarding on Saturn's Enceladus, where ice volcanoes create the best powder in the solar system, and the slopes offer an unforgettable view of Saturn's rings. Imagine jet skiing on Saturn's Triton. No need to bring fuel, for the lake is made of liquid natural gas. Of course, if there were oxygen, there's no smoking allowed. The lake would go up in flames. Imagine rappelling on Uranus's Miranda, down a cliff nearly 8 miles high, 8 times the depth of the Grand Canyon. If the rope breaks, you won't hit the ground for a full 9 minutes. Imagine scuba diving on Jupiter's Europa, in the first water ocean found off of planet Earth. Keep your eyes open for alien creatures. After all, it was in an ocean where the only life we know got started. Lunar Sports may seem like science fiction, but there are already plans to visit a playground of a moon called Phobos. The next world humans may land on is not the one you think. When we head to Mars, we'll likely trek to one of its 2 moons. Tiny Deimos, or a slightly larger speck of a moon called Phobos. Its size and low gravity makes stopping here cheaper, safer, and easier to visit than the red planet. This rock the size of Houston, looking more like a potato than a sphere, may be our next home in space.
Phobos is one of the smallest moons, and a real lightweight. The surface gravity there is less than 1,000th of what it is on Earth. And that means a human being on Phobos would weigh about as much as a mouse does on Earth.
Weighing only a few ounces, we wouldn't walk on the surface. We'd float. But you need to be careful. There's a layer of fine dust 3 feet deep. Kick it up by mistake, and you can't see a thing.
Phobos is a very dirty place. The soil there is very dark. It's as dark as charcoal. The soil is created as meteorites bombard Phobos over the years and fragment the surface rocks into this powder and rocky soil. If we're not careful when we go there, we may stir up this stuff, and it's going to make a mess of everything.
Drifting over small, sharp craters, the shadows change rapidly as the sun rises and sets every 8 hours. With darkness, you'd feel the temperature drop 200 degrees to a bone-chilling 170 degrees below zero.
Because of the really low gravity on Phobos, you could have some pretty extreme sports. Even a pretty average pitcher, without trying too hard, could take a ball and throw it completely into orbit around Phobos. After about 20 minutes, after completing a whole orbit, the ball might come back at you from the other side of the moon. Baseball would be really interesting.
And it's not just baseball. Imagine the Phobos Olympics. The champion weightlifter here could hoist over 900,000 pounds, the weight of a fully loaded jumbo jet. A gymnast could complete 3,000 somersaults before hitting the ground 25 minutes later. And a high jumper can go a mile into space. The gold medal winner here will fly off Phobos and into orbit. In effect, he will become another moon. When you're done playing, you'll want to explore the strange parallel grooves, their origin a mystery. And all the tourists will be flocking to the giant Stickney crater, 7 miles wide. Put a crater this scale on Earth, and it would be larger than the United States.
Immense crater on Phobos. Standing there must be an impressive sight. It's 7 miles wide. I'm not even sure your eye could really take in the vista itself. It was blasted out of the west side of Phobos when a small asteroid, maybe twice as large as a football field, slammed into Phobos at about 14,000 miles an hour. Phobos is a feisty little survivor. Had the impactor been just a little larger, Phobos wouldn't be there.
A hair bigger, the impact would have shattered the moon. Instead, the collision started a tremendous shockwave that stirred the inside like a blender.
A huge shockwave blasted through the small moon. In about 10 seconds, completely rubblized the interior of the moon. So, even if Phobos been a solid piece of rock before the impact, it was completely rubblized afterwards. It created a lot of void space and a lot of cracks and blocks inside of Phobos. And today, those may be manifested as small, if you would, caves inside of Phobos.
Studded with caves, Phobos offers another extreme sport, spelunking. These caves will be natural homes, protecting visitors from meteor storms and deadly cosmic rays. Emerging from our home, we'd look up to see Mars, looming in the sky a mere 4,000 miles away, no further than New York is to London. You can think of Phobos as a space station orbiting Mars. You can take quick trips to the red planet, but return to the security of a protected home, away from Martian dust storms. In our lifetime, we may see humans peering at Mars from a small speck of a moon. Saturn, a giant ball of gas 800 times larger than the Earth, enveloped by its majestic rings. The rings are probably a moon graveyard. The millions of fragments, the remains of long-destroyed, fractured moons. And 700,000 miles beyond the rings is the largest of Saturn's moons, Triton. Triton is shrouded from view by miles of haze, a smoggy atmosphere unimaginably worse than a bad day in Los Angeles. The surface of Triton has never been seen, but infrared studies suggest that when we break through the atmosphere, we will find a world strangely familiar. For nearly 1 billion miles from Earth is a moon that looks like home.
Welcome to Triton, the coolest moon in the solar system. It's got lakes, mountains, and oceans.
Triton may look like Earth, but the lakes are made of liquid natural gas, a chilly 300 degrees below zero. It's so cold it will freeze your skin right off your body. But with the right suit, you could have a blast, swimming in a world with just 1/7 the gravity of Earth.
The great thing about swimming on Triton is because the gravity's low, you could pull yourself clean out of the water like a dolphin.
Imagine swimming like a dolphin in a lake of flammable natural gas, 1 billion miles from Earth. But you ain't seen nothing yet.
One way to explore Triton would be by balloon. Because unlike any other moon in the solar system, Triton has a thick atmosphere, and that makes it possible to fly.
An atmosphere means that Triton has sky, clouds, wind and weather, and air in which to float. In fact, NASA already has a balloon design, and plans are in the works for a plane and even a helicopter. Within 50 years, there may be a balloon floating on another world. But on Triton, we can achieve the ultimate dream in flight.
In fact, the air on Triton is so thick and the gravity so low that all a human being would need to fly is a small pair of wings.
Using a set of wings only 10 feet across and powered only by our muscles, we can soar like a bird. We can climb into clouds of natural gas. When the clouds get too heavy, they release a downpour. On Triton, it doesn't rain water, it rains fuel. The drops, twice as large as on Earth, fall like snow. The petrochemical rain erodes the landscape, creating a mirror image of Earth, of valleys and hills, and filling the lakes with an explosive mix.
If there were oxygen on Triton and you struck a match, the whole place would blow up.
A deafening roar as enough fuel to power the Earth for 50 million years goes up in flames. Moons, each one offering a strange alien surface to explore. But in the shadow of Jupiter, there is one world that offers the ultimate possibility. The possibility of life. This moon is a small icy outpost called Europa. Our sun, a half billion miles away, offers little more heat than a distant match. Europa is cold and desolate beyond imagination. On the surface, it is the last place in the solar system to look for life. But break through the ice, and there may be the first ocean ever found off the planet Earth. The first new ocean since Balboa discovered the Pacific in 1513.
I think the biggest surprise would be that a moon could have an ocean. An actual ocean that could be an environment suitable for biology. That's a real mind blower.
If I were to bet on one or the other, I would think that life would be more probable currently on Europa than on Mars.
I think to stand on Europa would be, to me, one of the most profound experiences of my life. It would be a place that might, under our feet, harbor life.
Europa will be a challenge to visit. Here, Jupiter rains a vicious hail of radiation that cooks the living like a microwave, and temperatures hover at 250 degrees below zero. To explore Europa, we will need something like a tank.
So this special vehicle for exploring Europa is going to have to be lead shielded to protect me from the radiation. I'm going to need a regulated atmosphere, plenty of oxygen to breathe, CO2 scrubber to remove what I breathe out, and I'll have to have a good supply of fuel, both to keep me warm and to properly explore this amazing place.
Europa's road is a bumpy one. There are 300-foot ice ridges that form a towering wall, and at the bottom, ice boulders block the way. You may not realize it, but you are driving on top of an ocean. Driving on a frozen ocean through a maze of tortured, jumbled ice as hard as concrete. Better drive carefully, for deep, dangerous cracks may be opening below your vehicle.
Some of the cracks on Europa extend for 1,000 miles across the surface. In fact, some of them would go as far as from Los Angeles to New York. And as they propagate, they go along at about 3 miles an hour, just about the same speed as a person walking.
Europa is riddled with cracks deeper than the Empire State Building. Walking along, you might look in and see the ocean water rising from below.
On Europa, Jupiter exerts tidal forces that distort the whole body, so the whole moon gets stretched. When that happens, the surface gets stressed, cold, and cracks initiate. So you might have a crack like this on Europa, and it'll open and close every day, day after day.
Jupiter's tug is stretching and squeezing the inside of this moon, creating enough heat to melt underground ice. The melted ice forms a subterranean ocean, and warm water rises to the surface. On Europa, you can visit not just the first ocean, but these, the first icebergs ever found off of planet Earth. You are now on a journey to the closest place on Earth to Europa. It is the icy, frozen Arctic Ocean. Scientists are coming here to the Arctic searching for clues to the ultimate question: is there life on Europa? For if we can find life in this extreme environment, then we have a chance to find life on another world.
It represents, this frozen Arctic Ocean, just a spectacularly extreme environment that allows us to explore and test the limits of life on this planet, which therefore allows us to think about the limits of life elsewhere, or if it's even possible to have life elsewhere.
In the frigid Arctic, Jody Deming and Hayo Aiken search for the very limits of life. They drill into the ice, its temperature 20 degrees below zero, a temperature at which no living organism has ever been found.
Well,
With life thriving in the harsh frozen Arctic, it's possible, perhaps even likely, that Europa's saltwater ocean, protected from deadly radiation by a layer of ice, will be home to the most profound discovery of all time.
When I talk to my friends about hunting for life on another planet, they always imagine Klingons or something like this. I would be satisfied with slime mold. That to me would be one of the most profound discoveries we've ever made.
Today, it is the moons that beckon us. In the last year alone, scientists have found at least 20 new moons, one of the greatest periods of moon discovery ever. And there's evidence that at least 2 more moons of Jupiter may also have oceans, and with that, the hope of life. Where will we go next? We've got at least 95 worlds to choose from.